If you're going to be a good captain, then you've got a hell of a lot to learn. Being able to perform when it really, really counts, that's the bit that became a big challenge for me.
My name is GiftTime Egbelu, and we're going to check out the movie Chasing Great, the Richie McCaw story. This is Rugby and Movies. Welcome to Rugby and Movies, where I watch, review, and recommend the rugby movies that are actually out there in the world. Why do I do it? Because we need to know about our movies, man. Do it for the culture. And this episode is brought to you by the GiftTime Rugby Store's Ballers Play Rugby shirt. Because sometimes you just gotta let people know who you are. Go check it out at gifttimerugby.com/shop. Chasing Great is a 2016 documentary that focuses on the life of New Zealand All Black great Richie McCaw as we follow his journey to captain the All Blacks to their first back-to-back Rugby World Cup championships. This movie also gives us an insight into the mind of Richie McCaw as he has to start contemplating what his life will be like after rugby. I love the way this movie set up storylines for Richie McCaw. It set it up into these separate themes, and there were three particularly that I love that they touched on. That sounds right? They touched on? The three themes that they touched on that I appreciated were Richie McCaw's psychology, Richie McCaw dealing with his future, and how Richie McCaw engages and relates with other people. The initial theme that I thought was probably one of my favorites was dealing with Richie McCaw's psychology. Now, this is a guy who is considered a great and an all-star. But when you watch the movie, you see how much of a struggle that he has just to be a great leader. I mean, it starts from 2007, it deals with 2007 and their heavy loss to France, and then moves into 2011, where they're dealing with what they have to do to be able to get that first championship under Richie McCaw's captain.
And so 2007 was, a watershed moment for his leadership. And it exposed the weakness that sometimes performance alone wasn't enough to lead your men. And that became a huge burden. And he held that accountability, it was very personal for him.
Working with Richie in around 2010, the particular state of mind he had at that stage was particularly redemption.
Like the insight that they have about what he needs to go through, him getting psychologists, him having to change the way that he panics. Like, this is a guy that you think who's so stoic. He's just a stoic guy. And he's sitting there trying to figure out how to be a good leader, how to not get freaked out by the big stage, how to actually inspire the guys that he's supposed to be captaining through this. And so it fails hard in 2007, then you get to 2011 and it's a rough start going in there, and then you get to 2015 and you're just like, man, it all comes together. He's getting help, he's aware of it, it's beautiful. And like I said, this is from a guy who's essentially just a stoic person. He doesn't show very much emotion, he's not very, loud spoken, he's a play by action, and you just kind of watch him show this element throughout his life. And I thought the documentary did a great job in just shaping that element in there. The second theme that I really liked that they touched on was dealing with Richie McCaw's future. Because he knows that, rugby is not forever. He's not gonna keep playing. He's done it all. He's played it all.
It's really hard to say that I won't be playing again next year. It's easy to talk about maybe when you actually come to the point and say I won't be playing next year and I'm retiring. And so it's pretty tough to say. And
if in 2015 he gets the double championships, the back-to-back championships, doing something that no other All Black has ever done in history, which we know that they achieved, like the process of what happens afterwards. He talks about how he doesn't really have much of a home life. He didn't really get with his girlfriend until late Gemma Flynn, until late in his career. He was talking about how pretty much all he would do for almost since he was 17 that he's been playing rugby with the All Blacks. Since he was 20, that he'd been playing rugby with the All Blacks. All he does, he plays, he goes home, he watches rugby, he eats, he goes to sleep. Maybe every once in a while might chill with friends, but he doesn't chill with friends that much because he's working so much at his craft. He's just doing everything. And when you have that, and of course taking the weight of that in New Zealand where rugby is number one, that is your bread and butter representative sport. That is them representing you, you representing them. It's a team that doesn't lose often, so you're dealing with all the pressures of that, and all of a sudden can all be taken away because at the end you have to quit. You have to come to an end to it at a high level. And it's so great, again, what they do to try and set up McCaw's pathway to realizing, hey, I'm gonna have to be able to create this other life. I have to start anew. This is gonna be a new rebirth, new something, because I can't keep doing the same thing over and over again. So the movie touches this point quite a bit over the course of the documentary itself. And the last theme that I really enjoyed was Richie McCaw's dealing with his relationships. And I think the funniest part about this, because I'll talk about it later on, but the funniest part about this whole thing is that Richie McCaw is just an absolutely boring person. He is an absolutely boring person. But for what it's worth, that's how he was raised. They talk about how he deals with his family. His family are not emotional people. They're not. They don't get excited about it. They're the ultimate average emotion. You don't get too high, you don't get too low, kind of there.
But I think if you're going to talk about the McCaws in general, we're a pretty unemotional bunch. I just guess the way you're brought up, you never say too much about what you're feeling.
Whether he's flying in his glider, whether he's playing rugby, whether he's at home, they talk about the relationship that he had with his coach, the relationship that he has with teammates, the relationship that he has with his girlfriend, Gemma Flynn, which I thought was very interesting. One, I didn't realize Richie McCaw is dropping into people's DMs. And the other one is not realizing that, Gemma Flynn is kind of like the perfect, partnership to him. And at this time, they were just girlfriend, boyfriend, not, married as they are now. But, spoilers, right? I guess, whatever. But you have to appreciate the fact that they complement each other so well. They're generally just boring people that happen to know how to be boring together, and it works because that's what they want. You deal with all the limelight, whether it's field hockey for Gemma, whether it's rugby for Richie McCaw, but one way or another, they just work together. And you see how this stoicism has kind of maneuvered his relationships. Even with his old coaches, they look at it from a youth point, they look at it later on. It's really interesting how they framed these stories so that you have these simultaneous stories happening, and you just see how this all engages into how it makes Richie McCaw be this great player, but this absolutely normal guy. So when it comes to the characters of this movie, the number one character that really matters in it all is Richie McCaw. And you know what? I'm a big fan of Richie. I've been a big fan of his since I started playing rugby. But I do have to say, after I watched this documentary, it was so... I'm not even going to beat around the bush. Richie McCaw is absolutely the most boring person I've ever seen on screen. He is so boring. So boring. And I get that the movie was built to try and humanize him because, you get this great guy. And I also understand that to some extent, this is New Zealand culture. Like, they have a very moderate, emotional culture where it's just like, you don't go too high, you're just humble, you're nice, you're beasts on the field, and then you just want to just lay back, Not even like having a beard. Oh, well, he did have a beard. But just having beards, you're just chill. And I think it makes for a great player. I think you see this in NFL players like Tom Brady. You saw it in former NBA star Tim Duncan. You find this stoic, boring person who just simplifies their life so much that they are able to be great when it counts. And I think that's so great to see, and it makes sense as to why they are amazing at what they do and why they become the best at what they do. But that being said, it makes for terrible character development. Like, it's just, they're massively uninteresting to watch. Like, and I think that might be my biggest takeaway from this movie. Like, he's massively uninteresting to watch. I'm glad that they were able to shape over enough of the story where we were able to dissect away from that. But oh my God, he's boring. That being said, it's his boringness that somehow makes him great. You know, and you get this again established. One of my favorite lines from the movie is when Gemma Flynn, his girlfriend, is talking about how normal Richie McCaw is.
But the most extraordinary thing about him is that he's quite ordinary. I actually mean that in the nicest way possible.
He's just so normal. And that makes sense because, once again, you're so used to seeing stars who are up in this horizon. They're flashy, you know, they're celebrity. Pretty much what we typically used to see. And you have this guy who has all the accolades, he has all the skills, and he's a guy who's just worked hard to get to where he's at. Like, he's the prototypical, you know, work hard, you weren't the best, you weren't the worst, but you maximized your abilities and you made it work. This is the ultimate overachiever who just did it so well, and there's only so few people that know how to do it. He's an absolute overachiever, and he worked his ass off to be that overachieving. And to know that he did all that and he's still humble and boring and a normal guy and a normal Joe, the same kid that was born on the farm, and he's the same kind of guy. He's the Hank Hill of rugby. He's the Hank Hill of rugby. I play rugby and use rugby accessories.
Tell you what.
The other characters that I liked in this movie were the villains. And the villains were France, Australia, and then like minor villains South Africa. Like, France was the immediate one because of 2007. Like, they set it up where they were the ultimate obstacle. Like, into 07, just absolutely crushed New Zealand's hope in a low-scoring last-second game. 2011, that's that obstacle to try and get to it again. Boom. The other one, Australia. Australia seems to be like the bigger villain. Like, I thought South Africa was gonna be it. They kind of like swiped over South Africa. I don't know if this was kind of like a little bit of a nudge towards it, but they kind of like pushed South Africa to the side. Australia was a real bad guy in this because that was where they had their loss and then had to redeem themselves. That Bledsoe Cup is real. I can't wait to be able to see one of those matches in real life. But that was probably my favorite, other favorite character setup. And then the rest of the documentary just kind of supports the story elements that we talked about before and the character, where it's just his coaches from the past and the setup and everything from there. Gotta wrap it on up. I think my last view is just, this movie was shot so beautifully. I think the setup that they do, the shots they take from the mountains, looking over the land and horizon of New Zealand. I mean, New Zealand's a beautiful country. And to have a documentary that doesn't show it off is an insult to that country. And this documentary did not disappoint in that. The shots from the glider, you know, crowd shots, getting a feel for just how much it means to be an All Black in New Zealand. Like, I don't think there's anything replicated to that here in the States. Like, even at the national level, I mean, for maybe like an Olympic team, it's so great, but even still, you're worshipped for, you know, just a short period of time. But for New Zealand to be an All Black, and we know it, but to be an All Black is like the ultimate honor. Is the ultimate honor, and I can't think of anything that relates to that in this country. And maybe not even being a Hall of Famer in the NFL, I say is that, because even that is hit or miss. You know, this movie just did an excellent job in giving us a look at McCaw's life from as a kid, looking at old home videos. Which, can we talk about how home videos would have been expensive when Richie McCaw was like 7, 8 years old? Like, video cameras are the big clunky ones where you had to have the tape, and they're heavy, and they cost thousands of dollars, and your parents have this. So big ups to McCaw's parents for purchasing these heavy videotapes. But I think the other thing that was also really dope about this movie was that they used these fictionalized scenes of McCaw. So it's like they fill in the blanks. Like, you don't have something? It's okay. We're just gonna put a lifeless body, like, not a lifeless body. We're gonna put like a random body. We're gonna talk about how he ran 4 miles a day whenever he was 8, 9 years old because he's a crazy farm boy. You know, like, we're gonna go fictionalize that. We're gonna talk about his coach who took a massive hit by Richie early on, and we're gonna just reenact it. It was good. I think it filled in a lot of blanks. So my recommendation is, I do think people should watch it. I don't think it's the greatest documentary. I think it's vastly more interesting than Richie's book, to be perfectly honest with you. And if you get a chance to read his book, go check it out. I think we'll put a description to where you can get it in the links. But this movie did a better job in depicting it. I believe that this is one of those documentaries that needed to be made. I think Richie McCaw is absolutely a person who needed to have his story told, even though he might be one of the most boring people ever. But I think whenever you have greatness like that on an icon, on an iconic team that represents literally a singular sport, like is the key representation of a singular sport, I think you have to tell that story. So for me, I give this movie a penalty kick and a try, no conversion. 8 points. You know, it wasn't great, it wasn't awesome, and look, just to put it out there simply, you know, full 10 is, you know, it's out of 10. So try, conversion, penalty kick, get the full enchilada. That would be a perfect 10 out of 10. I think this movie has things that are missing. I think it's just because the character isn't typically that interesting. But I think that it makes for a great inside look, and I recommend that any rugby person does, especially whenever you don't feel like you're as talented as most of your peers. Watching Richie, and also to some extent Richie is a little bit of intellectual savant in his aspects. I think it will give one a little bit more press to want to keep moving forward. So definitely loved it. You guys check it out. You guys can check it out on iTunes, or you can find it on YouTube. There's some places where it still is. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. On the week of October 21st, we're going to be going over the movie Side, the 2004 Indian movie about 2 rugby teams who absolutely loathe each other, but have to come together to work to help protect their school from being closed. Guys, if you have any comments, please hit us up, #RugbyAndMovies. If you have any suggestions, please let us know. Again, the week of October 21st, send in your opinions of the movie. Side next, let us know what you thought about Chasing Great. Once again, please check us out on Facebook at GiftTime Rugby, on Twitter and Instagram at GiftTime Rugby. Please subscribe here on YouTube, and please go check out the GiftTime Rugby store at gifttimerugbies.com/shop. This is what we use to support the programs and, of course, our broadcast later on. I hope you guys enjoy this. My name is GiftTime Egbelu, translating rugby for you here on the GiftTime Rugby Network, and